Hello everyone, welcome back to Kredict. Today is day 5 of 45-day challenge in learning blockchain development. In this challenge, you are going to learn blockchain development from basics to advanced in 45 days. So follow challenge with us and learn how to develop smart contracts, dApps, and all these things developed in blockchain. In previous videos, we have seen what is MetaMask wallet, what is Remix IDE, how to install MetaMask wallet in our browser and set up our first account. We have also seen how we can get test Ethereum from the faucet. And in just previous videos, we have seen how we can create our first smart contract, build a basic calculator by learning arithmetic operations in Solidity. And today we are going to learn some new concepts in Solidity language and we will write our code in Remix IDE. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So here is my Remix IDE, and if you remember in previous videos we have created these smart contracts. The first contract, and this is calculate values, which is basically a calculator, and we have updated its functions to do some stuff and learn some concepts in arithmetic operations. So just close this, and today our first topic is conditional statements in Solidity. So let me quickly create a new file. Just refresh this. Sometimes Remix had some problem and it goes blank. So just refresh it, it will be fine. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to write it as conditional.sol. You can name it whatever you want. And I'm writing the contract with pragma Solidity 0.8.20 contract conditional. So here is our contract basic outline. I just forgot semicolon, so let me quickly put it here. Okay, so what are conditional statements? If you are familiar with other languages, you may know conditional statements are used when we have to execute some expression, some block of code on any particular condition. For example, if balance is low than this certain amount, do this, else do that. So we are going to see this kind of stuff. Solidity also supports if else conditions like other languages. So we are going to see this. For demonstrating this, I'm going to create a function. Let me write it as function, and I'm going to name it as print result, which takes no argument. It is a public function and returns bool. Bool stand for boolean, like true or false. So I hope you are familiar with this syntax. This is a syntax for writing function which has a name print result. It is a public function. If you don't know what is this public, please watch last video in the series. I have described about these modifiers which specify the scope and accessibility of functions. And this has this returns keyword which specify that we are going to return a single value of boolean data type from this function. So to demonstrate conditional statements, I'm going to create a variable here like integer num and assign it a value of, for now you can say 67, and to make it public I'm going to write it public. That's why we will get a getter function without describing explicitly for it. And I'm going to write a setter function for this, set num, which takes one argument as number. This is also public function, and it just update the num with number. So here is our variable with initial value of 67, a function for setting the number, and with this public keyword Solidity automatically generates a getter function for this. Now here I want to return true if the value in num is less than 100, and if the value is greater than 100 we will just return false. So I'm going to write here if num is greater than 100 return true, else return false. Just quickly write here view so you can, okay, because this does not change the state of blockchain, so you can specify it as view function. Now here what is happening, if num is greater than 100, this line checks if the num is greater than 100. You can see here is a greater than symbol, which is also known as logical operator, which checks the logic. And here it returns true. It checks for condition, and if the conditions is true, then the part of this if will be executed, and else if this condition does not met, the else part will execute. Or here we can just write return like this, because proceeding top to down, if function encounters any return statement, it will terminate the function and don't proceed with other lines. So if this return statement is executed, the function never reach to this return, and if this conditions fails, it will return false by default. So just quickly test it out. For this I'm going to deploy this function. Just select the default address, select your contract and click on deploy. So my contract is deployed, and if you remember we have 67 by default, so it should return false. Just click on this print result, and here you can see it returned false. Now if I update the number with a higher value than 100 like 300 and set num and print result, then you can see it has returned true, which is correct according to the condition we have written. Now here also comes the else if part. If you want to check multiple conditions, like if this happens or that happens or like some other conditions. So in a case if num is greater than 100, then return true, else if num is equal to 0, just return false. Just put here a semicolon, and else return false. Now you can say the return is false by default in both of these, so it returns false. So let me quickly change this to a boolean to integer that we can clearly see the difference. So I'm going to return int here, or like 1, 0 and -1. So now this will clearly demonstrate the example with proper output. So I'm going to delete this and redeploy this contract. Now here we have 3 functions, and one thing I want to mention it here, you can see we have 3 functions, but sometimes some functions are with this orange color and some are with this dull blue color. Why? Remix ID demonstrate it as the functions with orange color button is that function that are going to change the state of blockchain. If you see, when we execute setNum, it updates the value of state variable num. But num and print result, these functions are doing nothing. It's just returning the value. It not change any variable or state variable in the smart contract. So that's why these two are with dull blue color buttons. So get back to our example. It has a value of 67 by default, and according to the condition, it should return -1. Just print result, and here we have -1. Now quickly update this value with 0, set num, and now if I'm going to return this, it returned 0, which is correct according to the condition. And just check the third condition, or in sequence first condition. I'm going to write here 800 and set num, and print result, it has returned 1. So now you can see our conditions are working just perfectly, and with this you may have a basic idea of how conditions work in Solidity. You can check these conditions with integer, with unsigned integer, true or false, and any other supported variable in Solidity. So now we have seen basic if else and else if condition in Solidity. Let's expand this example and try to do some other stuff. So I'm gonna write another example here. Just quickly clear this. And one thing I want to point out here, if you are following this series, just always try to code with me. If you are coding along, you will learn much more than just watching the video. So don't just watch the video, try to implement hand to hand by this thing yourself. So just write another example here. And today, let's just get rid of this yellow line always comes up as a warning. So to write a license, just write SPDX a hyphen license, another hyphen, and identifier. And for now, just write here unlicensed. So now you can see the error has gone and there is no warning, and this is beautiful green tick which everyone loves. So just close this. So now it looks very clean and we have resolved the license problem. Just delete this extra line. Okay, so now we are ready for see another example. In this example, we will create a software, or you can say smart contract, that tells us according to our age if we are eligible for driving a car or any vehicle in general, or not. For this, I am going to write just a function and no variables. This function check eligibility, and I'm going to pass it here int age. And here is the point: age cannot be negative, so I'm going to quickly write it here as unsigned int or uint. Public return returns, actually it will return a string. I want to return a string here, so I'm going to write it as string memory. And now in this function body, we are going to write our basic logic. So first understand the concept. Generally, if your age is 18 plus, you can drive the car. Okay, and if your age is below 18, you can not drive the car. Very simple. And in some conditions, and we also consider this, if your age is also greater than 65, then you cannot drive the car. So your third condition, if your age is above 65, you cannot drive the car. Okay, so now we know our conditions. Just quickly write the source code for it. So first, I'm going to check for first condition. If age is greater than or equal to 18 and age less than equal to 65, then return you can drive. Just write view here because it is a view function. It's asking for pure, but we can go with view. Okay, just write pure. Yeah, okay. So the second condition is else if age is less than 18, then return you cannot drive. Okay, and to clearly specify, I'm gonna write here under age. And third condition is else if age is greater than 65, return you cannot drive, and this is time over age. Okay, so I think we have covered all three conditions. And what is this error comes up? Okay, so this says you have to assign a variable, or you can just return it. So if you want, you can assign the result to a variable. So I'm going to do this string memory result equal to, for now this is null or empty. You can say string equal to, just quickly copy this, paste here and return string, or just return the string in last and just update the string. Okay, just put a semicolon here. I'm very sorry, I've just returned here string. This is not string, this is actually result. Silly mistakes. And also here string, I mean result. Okay, so now our code is perfect, and sorry for the confusions. I hope you know some programming before, like other languages in C, Python, Java, PHP, or any language, because all all people say that you can start blockchain if you don't know anything, but this is not completely true. To get into blockchain development, or in specifically Solidity development, you must have some basic knowledge of programming in general, because here are some higher level aspects which can't be understood by just seeing and writing. So if you have basic knowledge of basic programming, or the basic conditions like conditional statements, variables, output, input, loops, then you can easily understand the language Solidity. So it's always recommended to have some basic knowledge in programming, then come to Solidity. And the one interesting thing to know, the blockchain development involves a lot of web development. So if you are a web developer and looking for learning blockchain development, you can easily learn it, because JavaScript has very similar syntax to it. So if you are a web developer, this is for you. And if you are not a web developer, then you can think of involving this and have a career path. Okay, so just gets back to our example. So I think our function is ready and our contract is ready to deploy. Just open this tab, delete the previous one, click on deploy. So now here we have our sweet single function which takes one argument as age or unsigned int and returns a string. So let's quickly write here 49 and call. So it returned you can drive. Yes, I'm under 65 and I'm above 18, so I can drive. But if a child of just 9-year-old try this, it should return you cannot drive, underage. Yes, you are underage. And if you are just like say 96 years old and call, you cannot drive overage. So this is how this example works, and you can see the conditions work perfectly. So now I hope you have a fundamental idea of conditional statements in Solidity. Okay, so now we have seen conditional statements in Solidity, and I hope this is all clear to you, and I ask you to try some other conditions by yourself by using all the knowledge we have gained in the session from early stages, and some other knowledge. Just hit and try to do some stuff, just create some smart contracts, some functions, and just see what happens. So this is all for today from me. I will see you in next video. Till then, keep watching Kredict, and I always hope that you are good and safe. I will see you in next day of this challenge. Till then, stay safe.